The world doesn't end with a bang, but with a sudden, deafening silence in a narrow stretch of water only 21 miles wide. Imagine a world where the lights flicker and die, where the pumps run dry, and the global heartbeat, measured in millions of barrels of crude, simply stops. As the Operation Epic Fury escalates and the shadows over the Persian Gulf deepen, we are no longer looking at a hypothetical exercise. We are looking at a countdown to chaos. Today on Wikipedia Plus, we will explore the terrifying reality of what if the Strait of Hormuz remained closed for 30 days? The global economic collapse as no one imagined. Let's dive in. It begins with a flash of light over the Musandam Peninsula. Whether it's a sea mine, a swarm of drones, or a formal blockade, the result is instantaneous. The Lloyd's of London insurance premiums don't just rise, they evaporate. No captain will sail into a graveyard of steel. Within hours, the ticker tapes in New York, London, and Tokyo turn a bleeding red. Oil, which sat at $111 yesterday, breaches $150 before the sun sets. The world realizes that 21 million barrels of oil, 20% of global consumption, is now trapped behind a wall of fire. As the first week progresses, the panic moves from the trading floors to the streets. The psychological impact of a closed Hormuz is like a stroke to the global brain. Governments issue emergency decrees. In Washington, the president invokes the Defense Production Act, but you cannot produce what you cannot fuel. The ripple effect hits the shipping lanes of the Malacca Strait and the Suez Canal. Vessels stop mid-ocean, waiting for orders that may never come because their destination ports are now zones of economic contagion. By the end of the first week, the just-in-time delivery model of the 21st century begins to cannibalize itself. In China, the world's factory floor, the sudden energy rationing causes massive blackouts in the industrial belts of Guangdong. The tankers destined for the West are forced to take the long detour around the Cape of Good Hope, adding 15 days and millions in fuel costs to every journey, but there is no fuel to spare. In Europe, the Epic Fury conflict makes the energy transition look like a distant dream as governments scramble to reopen coal plants that have been cold for a decade. If you think this is just about gas prices, you're only seeing the surface. What happens on day 15 will change the definition of civilization itself. Stick with us as we uncover the black mirror of the global food chain, 2 weeks in. This is where the crisis stops being economic and starts being existential. Modern agriculture is, quite literally, the process of turning oil into food. Without diesel for tractors and natural gas for fertilizers, the future of the next harvest vanishes. Developing nations, already reeling from the inflation of 2025, experience the first waves of oil riots. In the West, the shelves of supermarkets start to show gaps, not because there is no food, but because the logistics companies can no longer afford the fuel to move it. The dollar fluctuates wildly as the petrodollar system, the bedrock of American hegemony, faces a terminal threat. By the third week, the geopolitical alliances of the last century begin to melt away. Nations that were once allies now fight over the remaining strategic reserves. The shadow of a global conflict looms larger than ever. Intelligence reports suggest that the closure of the strait has created a power vacuum that non-state actors and rival superpowers are eager to fill. The internet itself, the very fabric of our communication, becomes unstable as the massive data centers' cooling systems face power shortages. We are witnessing the digitalization of society in real time. 30 days have passed, the strait is still closed. The strategic petroleum reserves of the United States are being drained at a suicidal rate just to keep the military operational. The global stock markets have lost 40% of their value, a destruction of wealth greater than the Great Depression. Cities that once never slept are now dimmed by mandatory curfews. The geopolitical map has been redrawn. Power is no longer measured in gold or silicon, but in the remaining calories of energy a nation can hoard. The world has learned a bitter lesson. Our high-tech civilization was built on a foundation of black liquid, and that foundation is more fragile than glass. As the echoes of today's story fade back into the archive, we are left once again at the edge of the unknown. Thank you for journeying with us to the fringes of history and science. If these mysteries resonated with you, we invite you to support the channel by liking this video and subscribing to our growing community of seekers. Share this transmission on your social networks. Your curiosity is what keeps these stories alive. We will return soon with another chapter that was never meant to be told. Until our next encounter, stay curious. This is Wikipedia Plus.